All right, it's the top of the hour, 11 o'clock, which means we are ready to start our Tridium talk. Thank you so much for joining today. We hope that wherever you are in the world, that you're having a great day, and we appreciate you taking time to review this very important Tridium talk on the customer loyalty program, as well as a couple reminders about the perspective EOL of AX from a licensing perspective, of course. So I have the privilege of having two colleagues on the call with me today. That's going to be primarily assisting with the chat. So any questions that you have, please feel free to use the Q&A feature in your meeting controls and go ahead and type that in at your leisure. And then what we'll do is we'll address some of these questions at the end of the presentation. And then, of course, anything that doesn't get answered, we can address offline. And then that FAQ, or frequently asked questions, will then be posted as a separate document at Tridium.com. So going forward, you can use this FAQ doc for all of your conversations with customers as you explain some of these changes, as well as the customer loyalty program in general, because I think it's definitely something that will entice customers to want to upgrade to N4. All right. So before we get moving, one thing that I want to talk about is, well, the agenda, of course. And in accordance with our four tenets of the product, certification, compliance, visualization, user experience, connectivity and cloud, deployment, ease, flexibility, and cyber defense, we're going to start off with what's new with Niagara. So just kind of take a quick intro into what's available today from a product standpoint, as well as what are some things that are coming that you get excited about, and of course can serve as a leader for you to get that AX instance upgraded to N4. There's plenty of reasons to do it. Of course, we'll spend some time covering that. But as I mentioned, we're here to talk about the customer loyalty program. So we'll cover the ins and outs with that, as well as a couple EOL reminders about the AX end of licensing. And then, of course, we'll end with a Q&A. So what is new with Niagara? Been a lot going on these days. Of course, we never stop innovating. We never stop delivering products, helping you solve problems that are relevant to your customers. And in that lens, we are now in beta testing for Niagara 4.13. So there is plenty of goodness in 4.13. And if you are not currently signed up as an early access or beta participant, well, I think there's plenty of reasons to do so. So in accordance with those core tenets of the product or our 5 dimensions, start from a visualization perspective. You've seen that HTML5 notation on many feature slides in the past, and it represents our commitment to modernizing the UI within the product. So all those traditional interfaces you only used to be able to utilize with Workbench or our thick client, we're extending these to the browser in an effort to make your life easier and to give you more flexibility on how you manage and configure a Niagara instance. We've also added some new features for analytics charting. If you've ever wanted to baseline some particular trend against another, for example, there hasn't really been an easy way to do that within the product. And now within 4.13, it's just as easy as just dropping that on there, then defining it, of course, as your baseline. From a deployment perspective, multi-tiered system databases, building on all of the great functionality we introduced in 4.6 for system database. And that's going to provide you the capability to create an entire network architecture specifically for those enterprise use cases and have your hierarchies, your alarms, your PX graphics, your histories all get indexed up on the fly, such that you have one interface, one common architecture that you can query from to support your customers, especially as they're managing a large portfolio of facilities. Such a feature is highly, highly useful in those types of environments. Containerization, this has been an ask from many customers, and we are excited to be able to offer first containerized implementation of Niagara Framework with 4.13. Of course, that is going to be a subscription-based product, which means that subscription licensing is now part of our go-to-market package and how you interact with the product. In accordance with what we've been doing over the past couple of releases as it relates to updating Niagara network provisioning, giving you those right tools, the functionality, know-how to be able to deploy Niagara at scale from not only the cloud, but down to the edge. We're going to continue to enhance Niagara network provisioning, going to continue to give you the capability to manage application templates in different ways, which of course, at the end of the day, is going to basically contribute to your labor savings. And that's what we're focused on, is empowering your workday with the right tools and mechanisms that will save you time. The unintended installer is going to give some flexibility yet again to those SIs who are deploying the Niagara framework at scale. Of course, let's say that you don't want to use the wizard for installing the product. Well, you can do that all via command line. And so 4.13 is going to give you some new ways of accomplishing that. And then moving on to connectivity, we now support OAuth for email services. Basic authentication was deprecated last year. So if you've got incoming, outgoing email accounts integrated to your Niagara instance, then now is the time to switch to modern auth. We've also implemented some new technology for the manner in which we stream surveillance or video feeds within the framework. So as you know, you can do that all natively within the browser via HTML5. And we now have actually implemented real-time streaming protocol, or RTSP, into the mix, which should contribute to a much better user experience. We've also improved the manner in which our enterprise security application just operates in general. Many enterprise customers are going to be dealing with databases, user databases in particular, that might have thousands of entries. And adding new users to that database is something that is just an important use case for us to support. And we've made some optimization enhancements in 4.13 to support that, which again is going to contribute to a much better user experience for the SIs or anyone else that's managing that. From a security standpoint, we never stop focusing on that. We have our crystal ball always at our disposal, trying to anticipate the next threat. But let's face it, folks, it's a disposition that you really have to enforce on a day-to-day basis. You never know what's going to pop up next. And from a Niagara perspective, that's certainly what we are doing, keeping our eyes as wide and open as possible to ensure when we encounter something, we can address it as quickly as possible. And so you can rest assured that with 4.13, you're going to have all the latest and greatest updates to third-party libraries, Java, such that if that instance gets scanned by a customer, you're going to know that you have the right product in place. From a certification and compliance perspective, we now support Haystack 4, which is the latest update to what I will call Haystack anthology. And we provided some great features within Haystack 4 tag dictionary that's going to help you migrate from version 3, for example. I know many customers have probably implemented that or installed that within their tag dictionary. And so you've got the ability just with a single click to upgrade to 4, which again is going to save you some time as you're getting up to that latest version. And then finally, we've provided the capability to export all of those valuable log files from a Niagara instance to syslog. You know, that's something that many IT professionals have been talking with us about. And if you have a customer out there that's been asking for it, well then, fantastic. 4.13 is the right product for you to introduce to them. And of course, I would be remiss if I didn't talk about the JACE 9000. 4.13 is going to be the first version that is supported on the JACE 9000. And there is plenty to enjoy on this platform. Just doing a side-by-side comparison with the 8000 to the 9000, You're getting 4 times the processing power, double the memory, double the storage, gigabit Ethernet, dual band Wi-Fi, and now even Bluetooth as well. So we are actually about to start beta testing with our Jace 9000 as well. We appreciate all the partners that have reached out to date to express their interest in testing that. So we're excited to roll that out, and even more importantly, to make this generally available. So that should be coming here in the summertime. Niagara Data Service. If you have attended a previous Tridium talk in this year, and you might have joined the session on Niagara Data Service. And if you haven't, no worries. You can find all those Tridium talks on Tridium.com under our events tab. And if you love YouTube, well, great. Just look up the Tridium channel and you can watch that at your leisure. But there's plenty to offer here within Niagara Data Service. And of course, it all starts with our management portal. That's going to be our one-stop shop for interacting with all the cloud services that we're going to be bringing to the market over the next year. And of course, you've got the ability to quickly dashboard your trend records and view them, of course, from the management portal or within the station. We've given you that flexibility. But the real value of this product comes in all those built-in APIs that we have provided, which is going to allow you to export your model data, which is essentially your digital twin, from your instance to the cloud, along with all your trend records. And those can all be queried by really any application out there that's seeking to leverage that semantically enriched data to drive value for a customer. Whether it be a business intelligence tool, machine learning application, occupant mobile application, the sky's the limit on this one. But I think as it relates to what's the quickest and easiest way for me to get my building model and trend records out of my Niagara instance, and then provide an environment that can be queried at intervals that perhaps you wouldn't want to at the station level, well, this is the product for you. And I think as we continue to enhance Niagara Data Service by adding more data to it, I think the value is going to increase exponentially. So if you're interested about Niagara Data Service, just reach out to your reseller partner and they're going to be able to provide you with some feedback or with some detail about how you can start to use that offering. But of course, we are here to talk about the customer loyalty program, which we just introduced. And if you do not know about what is the customer loyalty program, well, we appreciate you joining the talk today, because there never has been a better time to step up to Niagara 4. We're offering a significant discount on the list price of our core Niagara 4 software, plus a 5-year SMA when you upgrade your legacy Jace. So that includes, and we'll talk about that here in a second, but I mean all legacy Jaces. So even going back to R2 as well. But I think the important thing to note is look at that discount. You're getting a 40% discount on the Jace core software between February 1st of this year to June 30th. Plus, you're getting a 5-year SMA for the price of an 18 months worth of coverage, or what we call that initial SMA. So just think of the value that you're getting by trading up your legacy Jaces to a Jace 8000 and moving to N4. Now, after June 30th, or between July 1st and December 31st of this year, you're going to get a 25% discount on that core software. Now, of course, you're still getting that 5-year SMA for the price of the 18th month, but I think the time to act is now. When you look at that 40% discount, that could provide you some considerable savings, especially as you're having these conversations with your customers about the versions that they are leveraging on site. Well, you've got a great lever to pull here, folks, to get them to upgrade. So why should you participate in the customer loyalty program? Well, there's a number of reasons. Of course, the performance, flexibility, and range of accessory options provided in the Jace 8000 far surpasses what you had available to you with the legacy Jace platforms. And then in addition to that, you get to harness all of the new features and value that is resonant in Niagara 4. such as essential cybersecurity upgrades and cyber defense capabilities. Keeping your deployments in compliance with the latest enterprise IT standards is minimum to compete these days. If you have a customer that takes cybersecurity seriously, they're not going to compromise on this. And it makes complete sense to us, of course, because, well, you've got to protect your house. You've got to protect these assets, these systems that have a high value. You can't compromise any downtime, any loss of integrity of those systems. So upgrading to N4 just on account of the cybersecurity benefits it's going to provide, I think is justification alone. But of course, if that's not enough, you're going to have access to our modern HTML5 visualizations and interfaces that we're continuing to build in the product. You saw the slide for 4.13 features, and there's plenty of HTML5 goodness in there. But of course, we're not just going to stop at 4.13. This is a journey that we are committed to taking to the finish line. Of course, that's going to leverage capabilities. That's going to enable the creation of compelling user interfaces, amongst many other things, giving you the ability to shift your workload to the browser. If you think about it within AX, in many instances, you have to load up an applet just to be able to interact with certain interfaces. You shouldn't have to do that. We agree. And that's why we've addressed them accordingly in N4. You could install N4, especially 4.13, if you're going to take it to that version. And the amount of flexibility, the amount of time saved, I think is value in of itself. Of course, we've also provided new ways to connect and integrate with devices, systems, equipment. We've given you access to a larger and more up-to-date set of drivers, communication protocols, and operating systems that you didn't have before with AX. And then, of course, as we continue to innovate, we continue to drive value into the framework, you're going to have access to the latest feature sets and upcoming releases, which, of course, is going to provide you with that much more value as you continue to support and build upon the Niagara framework. Truly, now is the time to take the journey. If you're still on AX, this timeline gives you an overview of all the versions that have been released since that date. Now, if this is causing you any trepidation, any pause, or maybe it's causing you some concern, no worries. Remember, you can use our AX to N4 migrator. Now that's the n4mig.exe. And that gives you the capability to, via command line, migrate your existing AX station to an N4 station. Process is very straightforward. And really, it's that easy to get your station up to N4. And you can take advantage of all the great features we've added since the release of 4.0. So what are the details? This is where we're really getting to the juicy stuff. So the eligibility terms and conditions, which platforms can take advantage of this customer loyalty program? The JACE 2, JACE 3E, 4, 5, 6, 6E, JACE 7, and then our security JACE 2, security JACE 6 that are running AX. Now, one thing to note is that R2 based JACEs are also available to participate in this program. So those just need to be handled separately. So you just need to reach out to whomever is making your orders for you, and you just can send an email to our support team and we can handle that accordingly. Another thing to note, drivers, software options. All standard drivers supplied by Tridium and supported on an N4 will be migrated. So if you have a question about that, I encourage you to go to TridiumTalk. And if you go to our drivers page, you'll see a list of all of the supported drivers by N4. And in addition to that, let's just say that you've got an AX driver that you know is not going to migrate. Well, we've also provided a list within that drivers page on Tridium.com of all of the developers within our ecosystem that have built applications, drivers that, of course, are intended to solve a customer problem. You can reach out to those folks in the event that, let's say, that you don't have an equivalent N4 driver, because chances are somebody has made one. So any of those third-party drivers that are not supplied by Tridium will need to be licensed through that supplier, through that developer. And then, of course, I encourage you to take a look at that drivers page just to see what is available within our ecosystem, because the list grows by the day. From a requirement standpoint, you must accept and sign the Niagara Customer Loyalty Program Terms and Conditions Agreement online. Now, that's going to get posted in the meeting chat by one of my colleagues, and that is the prerequisite to get started with this. And then after you've signed, accepted the agreement, the next step will be to submit the host IDs of any of those legacy JACEs that have been deactivated in the Niagara 4 upgrade to Tridium. Another thing to note about this is that it must be rendered inoperable or destroyed within 180 days of the upgrade date. So no selling this on eBay, folks. The stuff has to get decommissioned or rendered inoperable, destroyed, you name it. The whole point behind this is that that thing should not be installed at another site. And another thing to note about this is that a purchase of a 5-year SMA is required. But remember, you're getting a 5-year SMA for the price of that 18th month initial SMA. So there's plenty of reasons to do it. So what is not included? Important thing to note. Workbench demo models, not included. PC-based models, like your supervisor, not included. This is only available for legacy JACEs. AX portability models are not included. And another note is that we are not allowing upgrades to a JACE 834. This is a JACE 8000 only. But still, of course, if you need I/O, you've got access to a couple I/O modules that you could use. We have our IOR16, our IOR34 as well. So if you have an older JACE that did have some I/O, no worries, you can get access to that IOR module accordingly and get that installed with your JACE 8000. There's plenty of good reasons to participate in the customer loyalty program. And of course, we're doing this just to ensure that, well, you have access to N4 in the event that, let's just say you're dealing with a tighter budget. Well, that's kind of why we did this discount. We wanted to give you some flexibility and to provide an opportunity to take advantage of Niagara 4 and all the great value that it provides. So since we're on that topic, the AX EOL overview. So there's a couple reminders we wanted to note to the community. So of course, since the customer loyalty program is fundamentally targeted at legacy JACEs running AX or R2, I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up a couple important notifications about AX. So AX was officially EOL'd in July of 2021. Now, what we did at that time was allowed a 2-year extension of AX licensing, which enabled customers that are still using AX within their facilities to be able to continue to license devices that they might have had in stock, move or transfer licenses that, let's say you had a PC in the building, for example, and you needed to swap host. We've given you a 2-year window following that EOL in July of 2021 to help support your customers that are running AX. So on the 1st of July of this year, we're ending the AX supervisor model migration. So there was a free upgrade path that we provided in advance of the EOL in July of 2021 that enabled you to actually update to an N4 equivalent from an AX supervisor, so as long as you had an active SMA. So if you have a AX supervisor model that does not have an active SMA on it, you want to update to N4, well, you better do it by July 1st of this year. You want to talk about cost savings. I mean, that's one thing why we introduced a customer loyalty program. In addition to giving you some money back, this is also going to give you an opportunity to save some money. So keep that in mind as you're talking about with your customers. I think that there has ever been a time to really update to N4, it is today, especially considering some of the changes that will be implemented on the 1st of July of this year. So you got any supervisors out there, just to say it again, they do not have an active SMA. Well, I encourage you to go ahead and do that and make your change and make your plans to upgrade to N4 as soon as possible. As I mentioned, the end of licensing from an AX perspective is coming on July 1st of 2023. What does that mean? That means if you have a software option in stock that you have not bound to a host, well, you need to bind that prior to July 1st of 2023. So I really want to hammer that one in, because you spent money on these software options. They've been sitting in stock, but you're going to need to bind that to a host prior to July 1st. And of course, binding those AX software options in stock to an N4 license to add AX to N4 license, such as the JC1000 AX or SOUP AX, you're not going to be able to do that after July 1st. So now is the time. I covered this before, but adding an SMA to an existing AX PC license, you got 3 more months to do it. And then I would encourage you to make that upgrade plan as soon as possible. And if AX licensing also includes replacing a license, right? So say you have to refresh a server that's running your AX supervisor, we're not going to be able to enable the replacement of that license. And then following from that, we're also not going to be able to move a license file from one organization to another. So if that's something that you need to do, we encourage you to make the time to plan accordingly to do that prior to July 1st. And then another thing we're not going to be doing is opening the NICs on any of those workbench models. So important things to note here, folks, as we get closer and closer to July 1st. But here's a couple other things to note, though, because it's not all end. There's also some things that we are doing here to help you in how you manage those AX instances, and then also how you support the customers that have those running in their facilities. The AX to N4 migrator on demo models. If you purchased it prior to July 1st, which assuming you did, that's going to stay in place. So you'll be able to continue to support and service any of those AX instances out there in the wild using this little migrator switch. So if you're unfamiliar with it, within Niagara licensing, with demo models only, we give them the capability to switch between an AX and the N4 model. And we're going to continue to allow that. The whole point behind this policy is so that you can continue to support your customers. And then, of course, when they're ready to make that journey to N4, you're going to have the right tools at your disposal to make that process as seamless as possible. Another thing we're going to continue to allow is that we will continue to host the latest AX 3.8 image on Niagara Central. So it's currently in archive, which is where it's going to stay. But just an important thing to note that if you need that image, it is going to be available in archive just for posterity's sake, and also to support you as you continue to manage those instances out there within your customer subsets. So we've talked about plenty of upcoming dates, plenty of changes. Of course, we will be posting this Tridium talk on Tridium.com as well as in YouTube so that you can watch this at your leisure and make the necessary preparations in advance of the EOL of AX licensing. But then don't forget about that customer loyalty program, because that's a part of this. In addition to us giving you that flexibility to continue to manage those AX instances using your demo license, this customer loyalty program is intended to help you and your customers make that migration to N4. So with that, we'll jump to the QA. Let's see what we've got and the question and answer. All right. So Ron Toll asked, is there plans to change from the N4 platform to a different platform? Will N4 be phased out? And if so, when? Great question. N4 currently runs on Java 8. And Java 8 is not quite a decade old yet, but it's almost there. I'd say about 9 years old. And as you can imagine, Oracle, for example, has published their own support plans for Java 8. And from an EOL perspective, that's coming here within 6 to 7 years. So if we're serious about security here at Tridium, like we are, we can't allow an unsupported version of Java to continue to run on our supported product. That's just not something we can do. So in advance of that EOL, yes, we're going to be migrating our Java versions. And when we migrate Java versions, that typically comes with a new point release. So think of an AX to an N4, and N4 and above. So yes, there will be a time within the next couple of years when we will have to make that migration. And of course, when we have line of sight into when that date will be, we'll make the necessary announcements to the community, ensure that you are informed with what that's going to look like. So appreciate that comment, Ron. APUP, Michael Youngs wants to know, is the American Auto Matrix pup jar, is that considered a standard Tridium driver? Yes, it is. Good question, Michael. All right. Todd wants to know, does the loyalty program cover the device adders at initial purchase, or is it just the NC Core license part? It is just the NC Core license part. So any device adders that you need, you're going to need to add that accordingly. Great questions, everyone. All right, any other questions? If so, go ahead and drop those into the chat. We can spend a couple minutes or so to see if that comes in, and if not, we'll close out. Let everyone enjoy the rest of their Thursday, or perhaps it might be Friday if you're joining us early morning hours from Asia Pacific. All right, I think that closes it out. I'd like to thank everyone for joining us today. Thank you for spending your valuable time to learn about the customer loyalty program, as well as some of these very important dates coming soon for the EOL of AX licensing. Oh, Eric, yes, demo licenses purchased after July 1st will not have the AX toggle. That is correct. That is correct. All right, so I answered that one. And then Kai wants to know, Kai, we'll have to address that one offline. He's asking, will the existing I think he's asking, will the existing COM modules work with the JS 9000? Yes. Any modules that are working with the 8000 right now, such as the LAN module, the RS-45 modules, the IOR modules, those are all going to work with the JS 9000. And then will the N4 8000 series JS be used for the next platform, or will they need to be replaced? The JS 8000 is our current supported platform. We do not have a 9000 that's available for purchase. But however, as soon as we make the 9000 available, I think as you can imagine, just like we did with the introduction of the 8000, we'll consider introducing a loyalty program that will incentivize you to make that migration to the 9. But again, that's something that would come, we're not this year, for example. It's going to take some time because, again, that 8000 is what's available today, and the 9000 is an item that's on the roadmap. So great question there, Ron. All right. See if we got any more. All right. Will AX demo JS or workbench license be let to expire, or will they become permanent for migration purposes? Your demo licenses, anonymous attendee, are contingent upon you continuing to pay your reseller fees. So if you do not pay your reseller fees, those demo licenses will not work. So that's an important thing to note. If you have it already today, we're not going to discontinue it. We're not going to expire your AX demo license. You're going to leave that migration switch there in place. So you'll be able to continue to manage those instances accordingly. Do we have a time frame for the 9,000 release, Ron? We are currently in early access beta testing at the moment. So we're hoping to get it out this year is the plan. So we'll see what the testing results look like. And that kind of is going to indicate or really be the ultimate garner of when we do release. But this is something we are intending to release this year. But of course, we do not have a specific date to provide at the moment. All right, great questions from the folks that joined today. We appreciate your participation. Kai wants to know he's currently beta testing 4.13. Thank you for your participation. Can you also beta test the 9,000? So we have a limited number of beta units available to us at the moment. If we get some more produced, we will certainly honor that request. But at the moment, Kai, our base Chase 9000 beta program is closed. But of course, as soon as it's available, you can take advantage of it. All right, yes, the Chase 9000 is the exact same footprint, same form factor as the 8000, which is going to enable a easy drop-in replacement from that 8000. One more clarification, upon the next demo license renewal, no, that AX slider is going to stay in place, Eric. It's going to stay in place. We appreciate that. Great questions from the participants today. All right, getting close to the end here. I'll give it another 30 seconds. If I don't see anything coming to the queue, we're going to wrap it up and allow everybody to get back to their busy days. All right, I think that'll do it. Thank you again so much for joining today. Of course, if you have any questions after viewing this, reach out to support@tridium.com, reach out to your reseller partner, and we thank you for what you do, and we hope you have a great rest of your day.